Warning, some histories shouldn't be told, but this one will be.
I always considered myself a man of science, an archaeologist who trusts in facts, in tangible evidence, in rational explanations for the mysteries of the past. That's why, when I joined the expedition to investigate the wreckage of HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, the lost ships from Sir John Franklin's tragic 1845 expedition, I was prepared to uncover a human story of survival, desperation, and death. I wasn't prepared for what we actually found. My name is Dr. Marcus Webb, and this is the story of how I questioned everything I believed in. We arrived in the Arctic in September, when the ice was beginning to form its annual shroud over the dark waters. Our team consisted of 12 people: archaeologists, marine biologists, historians, and technicians. We all shared the same scientific excitement as we approached the ships that had been found decades earlier, but whose deepest secrets remained unexplored due to extreme conditions and the technological limitations of the time. HMS Erebus emerged from the ice like a ghost of dark wood, its structure surprisingly intact after nearly 2 centuries on the Arctic Ocean floor. Terror lay a few kilometers away, equally preserved by the perpetual cold. It was as if time had stopped for these ships, freezing them in their last moment of existence. In the first days, everything went according to plan. We documented the ship's exteriors, collected samples, mapped the wreckage with state-of-the-art equipment. But it was when we finally entered the Erebus that things began to change. The ship's interior was dark, cold, and charged with an atmosphere I cannot adequately describe. It wasn't just the physical cold. It was something deeper, something that penetrated bones and mind. My colleague, Dr. Sarah Chen, a naval history specialist, was the first to comment. "There's something wrong here," she whispered, her flashlight cutting through the corridor's darkness. "It's not natural." I laughed nervously, trying to dispel the discomfort. "It's a 170-year-old ghost ship, Sarah. What did you expect? Cozy decorations?" But she wasn't joking, and as we descended deeper into the ship, I began to understand why. The cabins were in remarkable condition. Personal belongings were still in their places: frozen books, metal utensils, even fabrics preserved by the extreme cold. But there was something disturbing about how everything was arranged. Some objects seemed to have been moved recently, despite the ship being sealed under ice for over a century. Doors that should have been closed were open. Drawers that should have been empty contained things. It was in the captain's cabin that I found the first real anomaly. Among Franklin's belongings, I discovered a diagram that wasn't listed in any historical record. The first entries were normal: observations about the weather, the ship's position, crew morale. But as I progressed through the pages, Franklin's handwriting deteriorated, becoming erratic, almost manic. "They are here," said an entry dated January 1847. "They are not men. They are not animals. They are something else. Something that watches. Something that waits." Further on, "The men have begun to see them on dark nights. Lights in the ice. Shapes that shouldn't exist. Thompson swore he saw something entering the ship last night. We found Thompson this morning. His eyes. Good God. His eyes were frozen open, staring at something we cannot see." My hand trembled as I read. This had to be delirium, caused by hunger, by cold, by lead poisoning from the tin cans of food. It had to be. But then I found the artifact. It was hidden in a secret compartment under the captain's desk. A compartment that Sarah swore wasn't there when she had mapped the cabin hours earlier. The object was impossible to describe adequately. It seemed metallic, but didn't reflect light in the right way. It had a vaguely geometric shape, but the angles changed when I wasn't looking directly at it. And when I touched it, the visions hit me like a wave of ice. I saw the Erebus trapped in the ice, but not empty. I saw the crew, emaciated and desperate men, but they weren't alone. There were shapes in the ice, not exactly solid, not exactly translucent. They moved through the ship like smoke, but left trails of black ice wherever they passed. And the men, God, The men followed them, their empty eyes, their mouths open in silent screams, marching out of the ship toward the white nothingness of the Arctic. I saw Franklin in his cabin, not dying of disease as historical records suggested, but being touched by something. One of the shapes had solidified enough to reach him, and where it touched his forehead, ice spread instantly, crystallizing him from the inside out. "Marcus! Marcus!" Sarah's voice brought me back. I was on the cabin floor, the artifact still in my hand, my body shaking uncontrollably. "How long was I out?" I asked, my voice hoarse. 15 minutes, Sarah replied, her eyes wide with concern. "You were convulsing and muttering things about shapes in the ice, about something waiting." I dropped the artifact as if it burned, but it was too late. Something had changed. That night back at our base camp on the surface, things began to happen. James, our diving technician, disappeared. He simply left his tent during the night and never returned. We found his footprints in the snow, walking in a straight line toward the interior of the ice. But they stopped abruptly after 100 meters. There were no signs of struggle. There was no body. The footprints simply ended, as if he had been snatched from the air. "Polar bear," suggested our expedition leader, Dr. Richard Moss, but his voice was tense. We all knew there were no bears in the area, and even if there were, it wouldn't explain the marks. Around where the footprints ended, there were patterns in the ice, unnatural, geometric, identical to the impossible angles of the artifact. I should have told them at that moment. Should have shown them the artifact, explained the visions. But part of me, the rational, scientific part, still resisted, still searched for logical explanations. That part of me was growing smaller and smaller. On the second night, 2 team members claimed to have seen lights moving under the ice. Not flashlight beams or reflections, something different. Something that pulsed with a rhythm that wasn't natural. When we investigated in the morning, we found cracks in the ice that formed patterns. The same geometric patterns, the same impossible angles. And then Sarah disappeared. I saw her enter the Erebus to continue documentation. I went down after her 5 minutes later. The ship was empty. I called her name through the dark corridors, my flashlight cutting through the darkness. But there was no answer. I checked every cabin, every compartment. Nothing. That's when I heard the sound. It was like ice breaking, but also like whispering whispers. It came from below, from the ship's depths. Against all my better judgment, I descended. The hold was different. I was certain we had mapped every inch of it. But now there was a door that didn't exist before, and it was ajar. On the other side, there was a descending staircase. To where? It made no sense. We were on a ship. There couldn't be anything below except water and ice. But the voices came from there. Whispers in languages I didn't recognize. And among them, I heard Sarah screaming. I descended. What I found defied all logic. The staircase led to a chamber, no, a hall, that couldn't exist within the ship's structure. It was vast, the walls covered with the same geometric patterns I had seen on the artifact and in the ice. And in the center, the shapes were there, the same ones from my visions. But now I could see them clearly. They weren't ghosts. They weren't aliens in the traditional sense. They were something older, something that existed between dimensions, between realities, and they were feeding. Sarah was in the center of the chamber, along with James and other crew members I didn't even know were missing. They were motionless, their eyes open but empty, while the shapes circled around them, extracting something. It wasn't blood. It wasn't life exactly. It was deeper. They were extracting their essence, their memories, their experiences, everything that made them human. And as I watched, horrified, I understood. The Northwest Passage. Franklin wasn't just looking for a sea route. He had found something, or something had found him. This place, these waters, were a thin point in the fabric of reality, a place where other things could cross over, and Franklin's expedition had accidentally opened the way. The shapes noticed me. They turned, and for the first time, I saw them directly. I have no words to describe what I saw. My mind tried to translate it into something comprehensible. Tentacles, wings, eyes, but nothing fit. They were living geometry, conscious mathematics, something that existed in more dimensions than my perception could process. One of them approached. I knew I should run, but I was paralyzed. It reached into my mind, and for a moment, I understood everything. They weren't evil, nor good. They were simply hungry. And we, with our complex minds, our rich memories, were a feast. Franklin and his crew had stumbled upon this place, and the shapes had consumed them slowly, savoring each memory, each life experience. And now, we had come to them again. But there was more. The shapes showed me they weren't trapped here, not completely. They needed anchors, physical objects that could carry their essence beyond this place. Artifacts, like the one I had found. And I, fool that I was, had touched it, had connected my mind to theirs, had become a door. I woke up at camp 3 days later. Dr. Moss told me they found me unconscious on the ice, miles from the ships. There was no sign of Sarah or the others. Searches continued for a week, but we never found anything. Officially, it was declared as a series of tragic accidents: exposure, disorientation, equipment failure. But I know the truth. And the worst part is, I can't prove anything. They confiscated the artifact, said it was too important to leave in my possession. Now it's in some vault in some laboratory, waiting for another curious fool to touch it and open the door again. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear the whispers. I see the geometric patterns in the corners of my eyes, and I wonder, were the visions real? Or did I go mad like Franklin, delirious in the cold and darkness? But then I see the news. Another Arctic expedition, more missing researchers, always in the same region, always near Franklin's ships. And I know the shapes are still there, waiting, hungry. The Northwest Passage wasn't a route to the Pacific. It was a passage to something much deeper, something that should have remained sealed in the ice forever. But we, in our scientific arrogance, in our need to unravel mysteries, opened the door. And now, I cannot close it. Every night, the ice around me seems to whisper. Every shadow seems to have angles that shouldn't exist. And I wonder, when will it be my turn? When will the shapes come for me, to extract from me the last memories of the expedition, to feed on my essence, until I'm just another unsolved mystery in the Arctic? Or worse, do I already belong to them? Is all of this real? Or am I already trapped in that impossible chamber, while my mind creates this illusion of escape? I no longer know the answer, and I think that's the most terrifying part of all. The ice keeps its secrets, and some secrets should never be revealed.